Well, good morning again, everyone. My name is Tom Doran. I'm with ABC Computers. Welcome to our session this morning, Turning Your Business Vision into Reality with Microsoft Dynamics NAV. Appreciate everyone taking time to join us this morning. Hopefully we'll have an informative session and you'll learn a few things, and certainly I hope to make it an interactive session. So if you want to send your questions in, or we will have a question and answer session at the end. We do have an awful lot of material, so I will keep people muted throughout the presentation, and then I'll unmute everyone at the end. So let's go ahead and get started. And to begin our session, we'll start a little bit with who is ABC Computers. ABC's been in business. We were founded in 1984. We've been in business 29 years. We have 4 locations across the Midwest, 3 in Wisconsin, 1 in South Bend, Indiana, and is the case with I imagine some of your companies, but certainly in our industry, we have lots of staff working from home offices scattered throughout the Midwest. Most of our staff has more than 6 years of experience, and many of the folks at ABC have been with us for over 10 years. We work with businesses of just about every shape and size, from startups to Fortune 1000 enterprises. We're very proud of some of our clients. We actually had a recent award winner. Microsoft has an award called the Customer Excellence Awards that recognizes the very best of the best of all Dynamics enterprises. ABC's proud to have had winners in 5 of the last 6 years. And this year, Alarm Detection Systems. So any of you who know Mark Schramm at Alarm Detection Systems, you may want to send him a note and congratulate him on being recognized as a Customer Excellence Award winner for 2013. ABC has 40 employees. We have 5 NAV developers, the folks that actually take code and customize it to really make it fit your business. We have 4 application consultants. Those are the business analyst folks that come in and help you with your business planning and training. We have 3 dedicated phone support people. So when you call in, you get a live human being that actually knows a pretty fair bit about the NAV system. We have 3 dedicated project managers, and we have 12 network engineers. One of the things that makes ABC a little bit unique in our industry is that we do have the actual network folks to help with servers, help with software, help with all your connectivity to ensure that you've got a one-stop shop, or at least a well-qualified team to interact with whoever provides your network support. So what is Microsoft Dynamics NAV? Many times you'll hear, and Microsoft has spent an enormous amount of money branding the Microsoft Dynamics name. But actually there's a few different flavors of Dynamics. But what Dynamics is a financial management and enterprise resource planning system. And each of the Dynamics products has its own particular focus, but Microsoft Dynamics NAV will help with accounting, finance, manufacturing, distribution, customer relationship management, supply chain, analytics, e-commerce. Is really designed to small and mid-sized companies. There's over 92,000 companies worldwide using Dynamics NAV. That makes NAV the largest install base in the world. So there's more folks using this system than any other system in the world. There's over 1 million actual end users. And Microsoft Dynamics are delivered through a network of reselling partners who specialize in particular areas of the country or in particular vertical markets. And so ABC Computers is one of those partners, and we're proud to represent the Microsoft Dynamics product line. So what comes with the product? I'm not going to read you the slide. As you can see, there's an awful lot that comes, and we'll spend some time in the product here in just a second. But it is a very full-featured ERP solution, and I believe you're going to be impressed with what you see. Microsoft has spent an awful lot of time doing research and trying to determine how to best help companies utilize their tools. And one of the things that they heard over the past several years is, look, people are showing up in our businesses, and I'm sure this has been the case in many of your businesses, but they're showing up with their iPad. They're showing up with their own laptop. They are using a device that the company didn't issue, but the employee doesn't really want to switch out their own equipment. They want to have one device with it they can use both at home and at work. And so Microsoft spent several tens of millions of dollars and redeveloped the product so that we've got the opportunity to deliver these business applications through several mediums. So there's the Windows client, which is what most of you would traditionally envision as you sat at your desk at work and you were in front of your computer, and it's that client that sits there. There's the web client, and so the web client was really a great step forward. Lots and lots of different systems of sort of pseudo had a way for you to access the program remotely, but they were typically a little bit kludgy and not really as full-featured. You'll see today that the web client is a very robust way to access the Microsoft NAV system. And then Microsoft SharePoint. Certainly in larger companies, SharePoint workflows, SharePoint document management repositories have become a very large tool that is utilized, and Microsoft has developed a SharePoint portal so that if you're using this tool within your business, you can actually access your dynamic system right through SharePoint, where you access all the rest of your company information. And then deployment options. So traditionally we've all had a server in our building that had our software on it, and that is still an option. But then there's also you hear a lot about cloud computing, and cloud computing is basically servers located somewhere else. So there's partners that host the NAV product, and then Microsoft also hosts the NAV product. So you have choice in how you deploy it, and you also have choice in where you deploy it. So once we sort of ramp up here and talk about these things, lots of people say, hey, this looks pretty cool, but can I really afford it? And Microsoft has spent a large amount of research and development trying to help build a bridge between the millions of companies that are currently using QuickBooks or Mass90 or Peachtree that have really stretched the limits of what they can do with those tools, and they're ready for a next step. And but the challenge for a lot of those companies is that the next step was scary, and the next step looked really expensive. Microsoft has revamped their entire price model to make a step into Dynamics a much more affordable transaction. And so where many of us might have heard numbers that sounded like $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, today, a small company that's moved from QuickBooks to Mass90 can get into the Microsoft Dynamics software for as little as $25,000 for 5 users, and you get all the software. So it's a very robust system, and it's being used by lots of different companies. So these are some of ABC's customers. We're very proud of our customer base. You may recognize some of these folks. Culver's does a great job with their hamburgers. Shep's ice cream, it's a delicious ice cream. If you don't eat Shep's, you certainly should seek it out and try it. They do a great job. Lids is a large retail team sports and hats. You'll see them in malls across the United States, and certainly many of your local sports teams probably get their gear through Lids. And then some of the other more traditional manufacturers. I always point this one out because when I first saw this slide, I thought it was licorice, but actually this is the Mr. Twister fishing lures. And so if you're a fisherman, you probably recognize the Mr. Twister name. But Mr. Twister is a longtime client and just a great company. You know, traditional manufacturers, Anderson Manufacturing, Altex Engineered, both large automotive suppliers. Mrs. Jerry's Kitchens, another food manufacturer. And then Sarah Cycling Group, you know, we used to put their logo up and people couldn't really identify with, but lots of people recognize the bike carriers here on the back of our car, and that's a Sarah Cycling Group. Saris is actually also another former Microsoft Customer Excellence Award winner. So, you know, we work with companies of all shapes and sizes in lots of different industries, but they have one thing in common. They were trying to find a tool to help them become more efficient in running their business, and Microsoft Dynamics NAV is a tool that's helped them do that. So now let's step into the product. We'll have a look.
Hey, Tom, this is...
Yes.
Tom, I didn't want to interrupt your rhythm here, but it appears as if your GoToWebinar control panel is covering part of the screen, so you might want to minimize that so everyone can see better.
Thank you. So thanks for stepping up and letting me know that. I'm sorry for the little bit of disruption there, but now that we're into the product, hopefully you'll see most of the meat and potatoes, the good stuff. So Microsoft spent the last 10 years going out, interviewing businesses, large and small, and asking them about their systems. And what they heard from people, and they talked not just to owners, but actual workers, so shipping people, folks in AP, AR folks, order entry people, controllers, small business owners. And they said, tell us about how you do your job. Let us come in and actually watch you work. And they asked about different things. You know, what would make it easier to do this? Or how do you know what you need to do next? And what they heard universally was, man, if I could just see the things that I need to pay attention to and not see anything that I don't need to pay attention to, that would help me a lot. And then certainly controllers and small business owners had a real common theme, and they said, you know, switching an ERP system was a lot like a root canal. It was a little bit scary, and I was almost certain it was going to hurt. But from time to time, you know, you'll hear from someone who had a really great experience with a dentist, and while they were still probably not really excited about signing up for the root canal, their dentist did a great job, the work was done proficiently, and once they were done, they were glad they did it. And that was really Microsoft's goal. They said, look, how can we make this easy? How can we help people go live on the system quicker so that you can actually get value out of your investment? And how can we make it a little bit less scary? And so these role centers were one step in that process. And so what we're looking at here is the role for a company president. And so as a company president, when I log in, there's a few things that I'm thinking about. You know, what is the financial performance of my business? In this case, I'm looking at it as a quarter, so January, February, March. What are my, you know, how am I doing both for the period and year to date? How's my cash flow? And what makes up my cash flow? So you can see we've got color-coded sections. So I can see that, you know, I've got payables depleting my cash flow and what those are. I can see receivables that I expect to collect. And I've got sales orders that I expect to convert to cash. And then I also get a trend line so that I can see, and you know, as you can tell in my data, you know, March, April, May, I don't have a lot going on there, but I do have some additional sales orders coming in that I expect to improve my cash flow. As more purchase orders get entered and other of my payables start to affect my cash, I'll see my trend line change. But the idea is to give me a quick visual cue of things that I need to pay attention to, and then the ability. So if I see something that catches my eye, maybe these sales orders, I want to know a little bit more about what makes up that $250,000. If I click on that, it actually brings up the entire list of my sales orders. And I notice I've got a big one here right on top, and with one click again, I can actually see what are these folks buying. So I can see very quickly what's going on. I can drill in, answer a question, and go on about my work of the strategic business, trusting that I've got a good finger on the pulse of what's going on in my business. The other thing that's important to all of us, obviously, is our outlook, right? So we've incorporated Microsoft. Again, this is a Microsoft-owned product. You will hear lots of other companies talk about the fact that they're Microsoft integrated. This Dynamics is the only product that's Microsoft-owned to help businesses run their accounting and ERP. And as another Microsoft product, Outlook is completely embedded. So when I'm looking at my dashboard, one of the things that's obviously important to me is my calendar and my inbox. And so I could click through and open up any one of those, and I can see things that I need to address. As you guys see, on this is actually my calendar, and this is the webinar I'm presenting right now. The other thing that Microsoft heard, and as you close your eyes and think about your own inboxes, I'm sure you can think about the email piling up as you're sitting in this webinar. And actually, some of you are probably not watching my screen. You're checking your email. Shame on you, but I understand. So Microsoft said, look, we need to find a way to help cut through the clutter. And so they developed this notification pane. And so what that means is, when there's a question on an order, purchase orders, sales orders, if there's a customer service issue, if we've got a production problem, I don't want to have to rely on the fact that, where did it show up in my inbox? Or, more typically, somebody grabs a piece of paper and goes down the hallway to grab somebody else, and they have a conversation. So what they did is they said, look, if I've got a question, so in this case, we want to call this customer before this order gets released. When I double-click that, I actually get the order where we have the question. And I could make a quick phone call to this customer. I could have a conversation with them. I can inform them of anything we have going on. And then I could actually make a note back. So I could click and enter a new note that says I spoke with the customer and everything is okay. And then I could send that to whoever it is that's in the system I needed to notify. In this case, I'll send it to myself just so that we see it. I'll hit save. And before I leave, I'll note, in this sales order, here is a list of all the communications. So if we had design conversations, if we had a quote conversation, if we had internal discussions, that entire history is saved with this sales order so that when we go back after the fact, it's easy to do the analysis. But when I close it, then you'll see it pops right up on my screen. So I would have notified back. I know, when I ask someone to do something, I'll get a note back that says, hey, I took care of this for you. And then if I wanted to, I could click right on that, and it would take me back to the sales order so that I could maybe verify that things were done the way I hoped they would be done. The other thing that Microsoft learned is that people found that the implementation of most accounting and ERP systems was difficult. And usually that's because end users had a problem learning the product. And so Microsoft went to great effort to make Dynamics look like every other Office product. So as you see here, we're looking at the ribbon. This is designed for those of you that have Office 2010 or Office 2013. This ribbon looks just like the ribbon that you see in your other Office products. The navigation pane down the left looks just like the navigation pane in the other Office products. And what that means to you is that your users are going to see something that looks relatively familiar, and they're going to feel safer in how they move around, and they're going to learn it more quickly. Microsoft has also given us several ways to navigate. So they keep it clean. I only see the things that I want to see. I have shortcuts down the left for the things I do most often. And then I navigate. If I'm a web person, I may want to use my breadcrumbs up in the navigation bar, so you can see I could move around from the various areas within the system right from the navigation bar. Or, one of my favorites is search. So Microsoft said, people said, look, I get so frustrated when I can't find what I'm looking for. And Microsoft did a really nice job. So if I go into payables, let's say I have to process a payable, you'll see that as I start to type, all my payables options come up right here with a nice hyperlink, so I could go right to my payables and take care of whatever it is I need to do without having to click around and hope that I can find where I'm going for and lose all kinds of time. So it's quick, it's easy, and it gives us the ability to find what we're looking for with very few clicks. So down the navigation pane, the other thing that you're going to see are departments. And this is another way to search, and we're going to talk about more on this in a minute. So I'm going to let this go for just a second and talk about dimensional analysis. And so when people want to analyze their businesses, we talk about departments or business units. And Microsoft has a tool called Dimensions. And what this allows us to do is slice our business in any segment that makes sense without having to come up with a convoluted GL structure. So I could develop dimensions by a particular customer type or market or geography or product line, and I can set up all these dimensions and actually do analysis on all kinds of different slices and dices, actually generating a mini P&L by sales category, geographic area, line of business, and in this case, actually by a salesperson. So I could run a P&L by salesperson or by department, or, in this case, our standard revenue. So, dimensions give us a very powerful way and a very flexible way to analyze our business and make better business decisions. The Roll Center button that you just saw me click, I call that my ruby slippers, like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz. How do I get back to where I was? So anytime I see the Roll Center, I can click that and it brings me right back home. And today we're doing just a quick overview, but I want to make sure I touch just for a moment on all the other departments. So as you can see, and this comes as standard. How many of you have bought a system in the past, you got started, and then you went to go turn something on, and your vendor said, oh, sorry, that's extra. Well, Microsoft heard that loud and clear. So now when you spend $15,000, you get everything that you see on this screen, plus 3 full users. So if you're coming from a system, and those are concurrent users, you get full financials, cash management, cost accounting, cash flows, receivables, payables, order processing, CRM. Microsoft Dynamics is the only product with true built-in CRM at no additional cost. Inventory and pricing, purchasing, planning, full MRP, warehouse management, so a full, location, bin, locators, a full-featured WMS, manufacturing from product design through execution, costing, jobs. Microsoft Dynamics is also particularly unique in that most systems are either strong job cost or they're strong traditional manufacturing. Microsoft actually combines both in the NAV product. So if you've got a mixed mode environment, we support that. Resource planning, so scheduling of your team. field service, so if you're doing warranty management, service contracts, expirations or field service and repair work, all of that is included. Human resources, and then the full IT and administration area. Obviously, we're not going to have time to touch on each one of those areas, but I wanted to make sure you understood that it's all in. You get everything. And, you know, one of our customers, Technical Prospects, is a great example. They started, so they got everything. They made their investment in the product, and they started with just financial management, sales and marketing, purchasing, and inventory. But now, after they've been live for a little while, they said, okay, now let's go back and bite off a little bit more. And they don't have to buy any more product. They'll probably invest in a little more training, although they could do it on their own if they chose. And so they can grow into the product as it makes sense for them. So now I'm going to go back to my home, and I'm going to change roles. And so one thing that people have pointed out to me when I've done these demonstrations is that this is sometimes confusing. So I'm just going to remind everybody where we are. We're on a president's role, and the president's concerned with financial performance and cash flow and his inbox and his calendar and maybe the notifications coming from his team. But now I'm going to switch profiles, and as you can see, there's about 30 of these, and these can be customized. These come out of the box. But if you have roles that are particular to your company, you can customize these on your own. But I'm going to switch from the president to an order processor. So when I refresh my server, you're going to see that the order processor screen is going to look significantly different. As it should, right? Order processors, they trust that the president and the controller and other people are taking care of the finances. Their job is to make sure that orders are flowing, that shipments are being followed up on, and that returns are being processed. And so what we have here are visual cues. So these are designed to look like stacks of paper, just like your desk, right? So you got a big stack of paper, you have a lot to do. Little stack of paper, not so much to do. Zeros are good, right? Unless zeros aren't good if that's what our orders say, but, if we're partially shipped, zeros are good, and zeros for returns are even better. But it gives us a nice visual cue to say, what do I need to do next? The other thing that is, as our country becomes more diverse and as a global product, multi-language has become more and more of a request. And so Microsoft did a great job. And so I'm going to change just for a second. But, many of us probably have Spanish-speaking folks in our organizations. And while we try hard to accommodate each other, right? So let's English for the English-speaking folks, Spanish for the Spanish-speaking folks. The systems haven't always done as good a job, or it's been expensive to do it. With Microsoft, I can select a language by user, and when they log in, they'll see the system presented to them in the language that they speak natively. So just for a quick second, I'm going to change it to Spanish. It turns out that I don't really speak Spanish all that well, so as you can see, this is already in Spanish. And when I log back in, now my entire screen is in Spanish. And so the user sees the system in the language that they're familiar with. I need to log back into my Exchange server. Now, before I get too lost, because I don't speak Spanish, I'm going to go ahead and switch that back to English, because otherwise we're all going to be clicking around and I'm not going to know where to go. So we'll go back. See, I want English. And now I'm back to English. So each user will see a screen that speaks to them in the language where they are comfortable. So now as an order processor, if I want to see my open orders, so I see I've got 33 orders here. If I click on these, it brings up my order list. So very quickly I can see what's going on with orders. Back to my role center. If a customer called, if the phone rang or somebody transferred a call and I needed to do a new quote or a new order, I could, with one click, bring up the new quote form and begin to take their order for them, all without losing my space. So I can do my work, I can move through my day, and I have a general sort of home base that I always come back to that helps me stay productive and stay on task. So the next place, that we'll go as we review is our items. So, the systems are comprised of several areas that sort of run throughout, right? Items, customers, general ledger. And today we'll spend a little bit of time just taking a good look at the items, because items really start to differentiate, will the system do what I want it to do or not. So this is called an item list. And as you can see, I've got all my numbers and my descriptions here. I can search a lot of different ways. You can see all the fields. So if I like to search by number or description or whatever I'm looking for, I can search any way I choose. When I'm looking down the right side of my list, I'll see what are called fact boxes. So you can see I'm on item 1000. It's a bicycle. I've got some basic information here, but I also have a lot more information down the right-hand side. And so Microsoft has provided these fact boxes because what they heard from users is, when I have to go look up information, it takes me a lot of clicks. Most of the time I just want to know, what was my last direct cost maybe, or what's my profit, or what's my price? Where does this thing get reordered from? Do I have any coming in? And so as you'll see, as I scroll down from my bicycle to my touring bike or my front wheel, that on the right-hand side, those fact boxes refresh. So I don't have to click anywhere. I can scroll through my list. At a glance, I can see the information I need without having to click around or do a lot of extra searching. The other thing that we heard, particularly from order processors, salespeople, engineering, is that they tend to work with a particular subset of items or a particular subset of customers. So as you can see here, I've got my entire item list. And I'll just point out, so on the right here, you'll notice it says items. Now up above where you see sales, credit memos, or sales return orders, I've got a little triangle. No triangle next to items. But in this case, I want to just see my bikes. So if I click bike, it auto filters very quickly, and it says, okay, here are the items that are in this category. I've got a regular bike and I've got a touring bike. But because Tom normally works with the bike items a lot, I want to save this view. So I could actually save this and call it bikes. And once I do that, it refreshes my screen, and now you see I got my little triangle. So if I go back, I can see, hey, here's my bike items. So now I can click in very easily, and I've got pre-filtered lists for the items, customers, vendors, bills of material. Any place you see the list, you can filter it so that you see lists the way you want to see the list. And this is by user. So you don't need your dealer to do a customization. If one person changes it, they don't change it for everyone. It's designed to make it quick and easy so that we're able to do our jobs fast. So now let's go in. We'll take a look at our bicycle just a little bit closer. So now I double-clicked and I'm on the item card. So this is my item for the bike. And you'll see I've got several different areas. The top is what many people call a header. At Microsoft, we call it the general area. But it gives me the number, description, base unit of measure. We do support multiple units of measure, so as many units as you might have. It gives me a quick snapshot on my items. So what do I have on hand? What do I have coming in on a production order? What do I have going out on a sales order? And all of these are drillable. So if I click these, it would open up my sales orders so I could see what I had going on. I could navigate and take a look as to what made up that item, and then very quickly get right back without losing my place. So the system might show me something I have a question about, I can get my answer, and I can get back to right where I was without losing my place. The other thing Microsoft has done is you'll see I've got invoicing, planning, replenishment. Up at the top it says general. I could collapse this if I wanted to just to give you a better sense. But these are called fast tabs. And the concept is back to show me what I need to see, don't show me what I don't need to see. So in this case, I see the fields I want to see on my general tab. On the invoicing tab, I've promoted some information. So normally on the invoicing tab, maybe all I want to know is how's it costed, what's my price, and is it a finish or a raw material. If I expand this, you'll see all the fields just like I saw up in general. So there's a lot of fields here, but I don't normally look at all of those. So I promote a few fields so I can see at a glance without having to click in, what do I need to know? I can also hide and show fields. So here you'll see it says show more fields. And so you'll notice that as I do that, the assembly order and the assembly component show up because I designated those as additional. So if there's fields I don't see or I see very rarely, I can get rid of those and only look at them when I need to look at them. Gets the clutter off our screen. So quickly I'll move through a few of these, but our invoicing shows us our costing message, our methods, our unit price, our profit percentage. Microsoft Dynamics NAV is very unique in that you can cost your items by item. So FIFO, LIFO, average, standard, by item. So you can do items or groups of items, and it's not all or nothing. Specific is also very unique. So if you're dealing in commodity items, lot controlled items, serialized items, we can actually bring a product in and cost it at that specific lot or that specific item's cost so that we get a much more granular view of our inventory position. Planning is, and there's a lot going on here, and this is, we're happy to dig deeper with you, but this is a quick flyby. But so what's my reordering policy? Reorder point, reorder quantities, if there's maximum inventory, if I've got vendor targets, so minimum orders, maximum orders, do I round up, so order multiples, all things that help us be more efficient in our MRP process. And then replenishment. So do I make it or do I buy it? So I purchase, production order, maybe I assemble it. In this case, this is a production order. If it is a production order, so what is my routing or my bill of material that's associated with that? Is it make to stock or make to order? If it had been a purchase order, I would have my default vendor here and my default vendor item number. I can have multiple vendors associated with every item, but I might have a default set up. And then, in our production bills of material, so I can drill down and have a look at our BOM for this particular bicycle. And as you can see here, we have a header and lines. We support multiple versions, so I can have bills of material that are experimental or under development. And then once they're certified, that's how I handle my version control, so I can have multiple versions of my bills of material, and I can dictate when they're active. I can indicate the active version. I can also note when it was last modified. So if I have, we see this a lot with food manufacturers or different sensitive manufacturing that we might have seasonal processes based on humidity or temperature or other drivers. I also can have scrap and routing link codes. So if I've got long production times, I don't want to run MRP. If I've got jobs or production orders that run for 6 or 8 or 9 months, I don't want to bring in, 1,000 pounds of stainless steel that I don't need for 120 days. So I can link my material to a particular route step to make sure that it comes in at the step that I want it to. I can also calculation formulas, so I can do weights. I think I have to make this under development to let me edit it, but I can do length, width. I can do weight calculations. So if I have formula bills of material, I can actually calculate those formulas within my bill to give us a lot of flexibility in how the system calculates my material needs. I also have drawings, so I could link here. In this case, I've got my drawing for my bike, so I've got my bubbles. I very quickly could draw in it at the route step. I can, again, show work instructions by an area of the drawing, all right from one screen. Again, the routing, so if I can have multiple routings, but in this case I've got one routing for my bike. If I go in and take a look at it, again, complete version control, so I can have different alternative routings, but one certified routing. I could have the live version. I could have other versions, so if I have an alternative routing based on other machine centers or ways, I might have a preferred route that I use, but if I'm jammed up and I can run it through my plant a different way, I could do that. For scheduling purposes, we support, setup, run time, any wait or curing time. For large machinery, sometimes there's significant amounts of move time that's required. We can have, if I have special tooling that's required at a route step, if I've got particular personnel that are required, or if I've got quality measures. So in this case, on my wheel, I want to make sure it passes the crush weight. I want to make sure that's half a joke, but I want to make sure it's round. But I can set up the QC so that those tests and those measures are captured, and those are all user defined. So we'll go back here, collapse our replenishment tab, and the last place I'll go is item tracking. So complete serialized and lot control with expiration calculations. So if you've got items that do require serial or lot control, Microsoft Dynamics NAV supports that. Warehousing, we could spend a lot of time on items, but I think you get the idea. It's a very robust system. I'm going to switch now to customers and just give you a similar idea. So, a lot of folks tell me for collections they like this. So you can see I've got my phone number, I've got my customer name, I've got my contact. And if I click up on Spotsmeyers, you can see I've got, again, on my fact boxes, I can see what's going on. And as I scroll through, those update. So when I get down to my friends at the Canon Group, I noticed that my friends at the Canon Group actually, they don't pay their bills very well. So I've got an overdue amount here of about $250,000. So, I like you, but maybe I don't like you quite that much, but I got you on the phone and you gave me the song and dance. Oh, sorry, we didn't get those invoices. So very quickly I could bring up my list by clicking on that balance. Microsoft Excel, again, we're Microsoft owned, not Microsoft integrated, so we shoot our data out to Excel, and then using file, send and save, I could send it as an attachment, and because I've got my Outlook integrated, bang, goes right out to the customer. So again, I'll go right back to my list. But we also can filter here. So I could filter by different account types, different account numbers. I can do all kinds of different slices and dices. So my customer discount, maybe I just want to see my large customers. And so now it's filtered for just my large customers. And again, I could save that view like you saw earlier. But if I get rid of that and go back to my list, I'll pick on my friends at the Cannon Group for a second and open their customer card. I didn't show you this on the item, but it is the case. We've got lots of different information. Statistics is a great one. So I get a mini P&L, customers, items, vendors, all of those right in a snapshot. So I could expand this and see my sales for this period, for this year, for last year, cost of sales, profit, any adjustments. So if I run promotions that adjust my cost, so I can get a mini P&L by customer, by item, by vendor in real time in a snapshot. I've got integrated dialing, so as you can see my phone list there. So if you're using Link or Skype or another voice over IP system, it'll pop your dialer to make a phone call to your customer. We have complete credit card integration. So if if I take credit cards in my business for deposits or other things, I could actually do that right from this screen and get them authorized. There's different mapping integration, so I can see online maps. So if I'm trying to route my drivers or I'm trying to route deliveries, I could actually do that right from this screen. Service orders, contracts, as we discussed earlier. If I've got warranty information, I can track that right from this screen as well. So the idea is, we've got the ribbon like the other Microsoft products. They look consistent from section to section, so you can see the fast tabs again. So as you're cut, and you see under communication, I don't need to see every field. I want to see their email. I want to see their phone number. I want to see invoicing, what routes do they belong to? Payments, what are their terms? So I can see at a glance without having to expand anything, how do I interact with this customer? And then last but certainly not least, if I want to do analysis at the end, so, how do I get reporting that's meaningful to me? So, Microsoft has lots of different reports that are available, but like any other system, people want to be able to analyze data on their own. So I'm going to click to my posted documents. I'm going to take a quick look at these invoices. So you can see I've got a list of all my posted invoices. I'm going to dump this to Excel. Comes in a pretty nice format. But, really I want a little bit easier way to do some analysis. So I'm going to highlight my list. I'm going to insert. Now, folks, I'm a salesperson. I'm just going to remind you, I'm a salesperson. And so I can remember when pivot tables took a minor degree in math. Now, if I hit pivot table, it takes my data, dumps it to a table, and it says, all right, I want to see it by customer, by amount, and, by the way, I want a pretty picture, and I like pie charts. So I'm going to grab a pie chart. I'm going to drag that over. And so now I've got a great little report that I was able to do in about 15 seconds all by myself. And I can set filters just like I can. So if I want to see one customer or all, and everything updates dynamically. So if I bring all my customers back, you see the chart updates. It also updates, again, the integration, so it's more. So Dynamics NAV, you see there's a tab on here now, and you'll see refresh. So the complete integration means that as I enter new data, these fields will refresh, my chart will refresh, and I don't have to do anything. So, folks, that is a million miles an hour through a product that can do lots of things to empower your users to be more productive and to improve your bottom line. So right now, with about 10 minutes to go, I'd like to stop open it up for questions and see if we can help respond to a few. So I'm going to unmute the audience. So you should be unmuted. Questions from anyone? I'm getting feedback. Can everybody hear? All right, maybe we should go. I'll tell you what, if you type your questions in. So we do have some video clips, and we'll send out, Steve. So Steve asked if we've got video clips, and I think you'll see that. We do have some video clips, and I'll send those out. Michael asked about the MRP capabilities. So we do have a couple of great recorded sessions. It does have full MRP and planning capabilities. So, you know, if you're planning production, if you're planning purchasing, if you're planning service, so it will actually do recommended service and warranty trips. So if you've got people on a service plan, it will let you know the folks you need to go out. So it's actually very robust MRP. The webinar will be posted. So Pam asked if the webinar will be posted, and it will. Does it have an RMA module? It does support RMA. RMA is always a tricky issue. So I'm going to tell you in a short answer that yes, there's RMA. We probably need to get into more detail so I don't, you know, sort of overpromise. EDI. So EDI is there is a integrated solution that does do complete EDI. We've got that implemented in probably half of our customers. We find it to be very robust, and I think you'd be pleased with the solution. So Pam, is there a payroll module separate, or is it under HR? So the payroll is separate. HR just has to do with the basic human resource functionality, OSHA requirements, basic HR reporting, time off, and that type of thing. So payroll is an additional granule. Is there a report showing current open shop orders? There is a report that shows you the open work orders and also bill of material cost shares. So there is great and flexible reporting for shop floors. Lots of questions. Nice job, gang. We appreciate the questions. Other questions this morning? So then I will try, there was a couple of questions on reporting, so I will take just another minute and I'll try to watch for additional questions as they come in. But if I go into the BOM cost shares, and I'll get rid of this for a second. So if I go into my BOM cost share report, this is kind of a nice report, but you know, as you go in, Dynamics NAV is moving to the SSRS type reporting, so you can see, you know, what you've got come in for material, your capacity, anything. In this case, I don't have anything subcontracted, but if I did, I'd see that. Overhead, so if I've got overhead in my cost shares, and then it breaks it down for me. Again, resorting the way we can in SSRS. So if I wanted to sort a particular way, I could do that. My production reports, let's see if I can get a production. So there's my planned production orders, so I can see all of those, and it would give me I can also get load on work center reports. So let's see. So my machine setter load, so if I go in and look, you can see it'll show me my capacity, show me who I have scheduled to work on it, start and stop. If I've got expected, if I put efficiencies on my report, so I can see where my capacity is and what's available at a glance. Also does that by work center, so you can see that as well. Other questions, gang? Okay. Well, not hearing any. Looks like we're just a minute or two early, so I'll give you 3 minutes back in your day. I'll thank you once again for attending our webinar. We will have this posted for you in about 2 hours, so it should be available for review from our website. And then certainly, you know, ABC Computers is happy to come out and spend some more time with you. Today we've got a special offer. So for any of you that are actually thinking of making a change, we will offer a 20% discount on any Dynamics purchase made before April 1st. So if you're thinking of making a change, we'd love an opportunity to speak with you about it, and hopefully a 20% discount gives you a little incentive. So we really appreciate everyone's time today, and certainly drop me an email or give us a buzz. We'd like an opportunity to talk with you. Thanks, and have a great day.